also head into the park for picnics, but it can come with a risk.
Lyme disease is a debilitating illness that can cause long-term nerve damage. It's carried by tiny bugs called ticks. It is an incredibly rare disease to catch, but in recent years, the number of reported Lyme disease cases are on the rise. I'm Professor James Logan. I've studied insects and arachnids and the diseases they can pass on to us for my whole career, and Lyme disease fascinates me. Vicky from Cheltenham was bitten by a tick 7 years ago and contracted the disease.
In the May of 2016, I had a rash on the back of my legs. I wasn't sick or anything at the time.
Sort of talk about a bullseye sort of rash, is that exactly
Yeah, exactly
what it looked like?
how it looks, but I didn't really know anything about Lyme disease.
Even after getting bitten, it was a long time before Vicky was diagnosed.
So it took a good year of just being in and out of hospital, and no one could figure out what was wrong, and that lasted basically for about 4 years. So it had gone into my nervous system, my brain, and cardiac symptoms just affected my whole body.
What's it kind of like for you now?
I'm someone who had run the London Marathon, had cycled from London to Paris. I started off with very much like flu-like symptoms. I was having a lot of seizures. The best way I can describe it is like my body was shutting down. I'm still bedbound 90% of the time.
Vicky's case is one of the most extreme I've heard of, and it is very rare for people to suffer severe long-term effects from Lyme disease. If it's treated early, then most complications can be avoided. The telltale rash is a good thing to look out for because the ticks themselves can be so difficult to spot. So this is a tick, and that's the mouth parts that you can see at the front there. This is a wild tick that I haven't yet tested for Lyme disease, so I'm being safe and monitoring it closely for any signs that it's about to bite. If I pop that on my hand, if it will jump off, you can see it there just crawling along on my hand. I cannot feel a thing, and look at how small it is. It's absolutely tiny. There's no way I'd know that that was on there. What it will do now is it will kind of explore my body, and then it will attach, it'll put its mouth parts into my skin. If you are bitten by a tick, there's a simple way of removing it with widely available tick removal tools like this one. The key to this is to get the tool as close to the skin as possible and just slide it along. There's a little slit in there, and once it's there, give it a twist round gently like that, and eventually it'll pop out. It's one thing to study them in the lab, but to find them in the wild, I'm going to need a guide. Professor Richard Wall from the University of Bristol has been creating a map of tick hotspots across the UK. So Richard, it's a beautiful day in the countryside here, but we're on the lookout for something a little bit more sinister. Can you tell me, how do you actually find ticks?
With this very sophisticated piece of equipment called a blanket drag. When they want to feed, they climb to the tips of the grass and they wait there for a host to come past, and they grab hold very quickly as the host brushes against them.
So does it matter how quick you go, or?
You need to move it fairly slowly.
There's one up there though, isn't there? Yeah. There's absolutely no chance you would see that if that was attached to your skin. According to Professor Richard Wall's research, the southwest of England and the Highlands of Scotland have the highest density of ticks in the UK, and places that are humid are often particularly attractive to them. But this will be why we're finding lots of ticks here, because it's actually quite overcast, under the sort of tree canopy, long grass, so the humidity here feels a bit higher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they need the right habitat. They need shade, long grass.
In areas where there are ticks, it's a good idea to cover up your legs and feet like we have today. What about tick numbers? Are they on the increase?
As far as we are aware, tick numbers are increasing, and the seasonality is changing, so they're abundant and biting much more continuously through the season.
And is this anything to do with climate change?
But it's certainly a distinct change that with warmer, wetter winters, we're seeing this prolonged tick activity through the season.
It's important to know what to look for, but as long as we protect ourselves, we can still enjoy our beautiful grass and woodlands throughout the summer.
You never think about it, do you?
No, but actually you do hear more and more about it now, don't you?
Yeah. Right, it is time to say hello